Your girlfriend is gone, and you're the prime suspect. Your only path to salvation? This guy. What I'd give to be in love. Our story begins with Iggy and Marin, an inseparable couple, frolicking in the woods. He locks eyes with her and says, "I'm gonna love you for the rest of my life." "Just love me for the rest of mine," she replies. Foreshadowing. We cut to a groggy Iggy who just woke up. Then, Iggy closes his eyes and replays memories of Marin. Wait a second. Anyway, as he opens them, he spots a gaggle of reporters and angry bystanders. They hold signs condemning him for his alleged murder. Iggy drives off and heads to his parents' house. They meet for lunch, and his dad, Derek, insists he steps up his lawyer game. "I'll even pay for it," he adds. Iggy refuses, preferring to stick with his childhood friend turned public defender, Lee. Iggy's mother then mentions that whatever happened with Marin doesn't matter. He's still their son. The fact that even an inkling of doubt exists in their minds infuriates Iggy. He storms off, but his brother Terry knows how to lift the mood. "Yo, but why my man's got an inhaler in every movie?" Lee pulls up and shares a double whammy of bad news. First off, the evidence lab that stored samples from Marin's body was destroyed. Sus. And there's a new witness spreading dangerous allegations. In an effort to take his mind off things, Iggy gets his hydration in check. The bar owner doesn't appreciate his business and states, "You spook everyone out." Glenna, another childhood friend, comes to the rescue. She pours him a drink and makes a tantalizing offer. Though, Iggy declines. But Iggy, she thick. Later at night, a ceremony takes place for Marin at the scene of the crime. It's right by the treehouse that the couple regularly frequented. Marin's father, Dale, believes that his daughter cannot rest while Iggy walks free. Glenna is also there, and she spots Iggy in the treehouse. He even joins them in doing the little light thing. After the group disperses, an angry Iggy stumbles down. Though, he quickly calms down when he thinks of Marin. Suddenly, he notices a potential fire hazard. Fortunately, he saves the day. "Thanks, Iggy. Very cool." Glenna returns and is like, "What is you doing?" Iggy shares that Marin went to church every Sunday, and yet God let this tragedy happen. First time? Personally, I would ask for a refund. Oh hey, more foreshadowing. The next morning, Iggy awakens and he feels something stiff erecting upwards. And it's not the usual suspect. As he gets up, we see that he closed the deal with Glenna. Attaboy. Upon passing by a mirror, Iggy realizes that something ain't right. He takes a closer look and to his shock, finds that his iconic scar has been replaced by baby horns. Right after, he greets Glenna, who notices his horns, but strangely, doesn't make much of it. Even more peculiar, she asks him for his permission to devour an entire box of donuts.
"Yeah, do whatever you like."
Atta girl. Iggy then takes a trip to the doctor's and encounters a screaming child with her mother in the waiting room. The woman feels compelled to strike up a scintillating conversation with our horny boy. She divulges her dissatisfaction with her marriage and kids and reveals her extracurricular activities.
Yeah, boy.
It's true what they say about black.
Cars. Moving on. A nurse tends to Iggy while spouting some foolishness.
Or maybe I should just take a dump on the seat myself.
Then, the doctor pulls up and is like, "What's the deal, son?" Iggy responds, "Do you not, see anything weird about me?"
You mean, besides your horns?
Apparently, the horns have a sort of amnesic effect. When you look at them, nothing seems out of the ordinary, and as soon as you look away, you forget they were even there. Iggy demands the doctor saws the horns off, and they proceed with an impromptu operation. Though, he's not sure it'll work.
But it'll be fun to try.
As Iggy is sedated, he slips into a dream.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
We're transported back to Iggy's first memory of Marin. We see her grab his attention by using her cross to reflect the sun into his eyes. A little bit annoying, but as long as she's into me, I guess. Iggy asks his brother Terry who she is and what she's doing. His dad chimes in. "I think it's Morse code. For bug off. Go play Roblox." Afterwards, Iggy sees that Marin left behind a broken cross necklace. He collects it, then we cut to Iggy and the boys having a blast. Oh, and Glenna is there too. They blow things up, as kids do, and then the chunky one, Eric, gets all defensive.
"I'm saving my last cherry for something special."
There's a joke about virginity somewhere in there. The kids protest, so he agrees to give up his cherry to whomever slides down the log ramp in their birthday suit. The Sigma male alpha Chad of the group, Iggy, accepts. As he prepares to launch off, Glenna pleads with him. That's my secret, Glenna. I wanna die." Iggy nearly drowns, but Lee dives in to save him. Imagine, after all that, Chonker over here still doesn't want to give up the cherry. So, Terry snatches it. Sometime later, we see Lee fixing Marin's cross while asking Iggy if he likes her. "She's not like other girls," he says, before suggesting that maybe he should be the one to return the cross. Iggy puts forth a counteroffer. "I receive one Marin, and you receive one cherry." Sure, why not? At night, Iggy studies Morse code. Come on, it wasn't actually Morse code. Iggy returns the cross the next time he sees Marin at church. They chat a bit outside, and we learn that her mother died, which is why she moved. Suddenly, Terry runs up and shares some grim news. Lee's girlfriend exploded.
Bazinga!
In hindsight, not the best trade deal. We cut to Iggy showing Marin the treehouse for the first time.
Got a great hiding spot.
Then, he somberly reveals that he lied. It was Lee who fixed the cross. If not for the trade, he'd be here instead. Marin explains,
That's not how any of this works.
in truth, she left the cross for Iggy. They share their first kiss, then we fast forward to the grown-up selves doing the same, and a bit more. Iggy awakens to find a hacksaw embedded in his horns. He takes a look at how much they've grown, while the doctor proceeds with a spontaneous internal exam of the nurse. Well, modern medicine didn't help. Let's try God. Iggy visits a pastor, but he's not friendly. Leave me alone! Damn, my man's wide. Anyway, nothing productive comes of this, so he visits Lee. Strangely, he doesn't see Iggy's horns. Weird. This prompts Iggy to conclude that if he really is this crazy, maybe he really did kill Marin. Seeking emotional support, Iggy visits his parents. His mother embraces him, but then the horns compel her to speak the truth. Can't you just go away? I don't want to hear your problems. When you speak, I just want to start singing.
It's definitely a no for me, dog.
Let's try some autotune. Now bring in the drums. Let's go! Anyway, let's see what Daddy-O has to say. Well, turns out he firmly believes Iggy is the murderer. Oh, and one of his friends worked at the evidence lab and burned it down for him. What? Next up, Iggy heads to the bar to see if he can find some answers. Though, a small army of reporters follows him, so he uses his demonic powers to make them fight. Hey, this is better than the UFC. Iggy enters and is kindly greeted by the owner. He asks everyone what they know about the night Marin died. Then, this guy whips his willy out. Can't show that. Fortunately, this guy provides an actual answer. My cousin's a cop, and he told me the new witness is the waitress that served you that night. She said she saw you drag Marin to your car. Iggy walks out while the owner sets the place ablaze, having been compelled by the horns. He returns to his car and inspects a ring. We cut to a flashback of Iggy planning his proposal. He heads to a diner for the big night, but finds a somber Marin. She opens up about her desires to move to LA, which Iggy is fine with, but then she adds, we should see other people. His mood immediately turns to anguish as he asks, are you in love with someone else? Marin only offers up a blank stare in response. Iggy becomes enraged and Marin walks off. Terry arrives just as Iggy is leaving. He walks up to Marin, then we cut to the next morning. Eric, now a police officer, sternly asks Iggy when the last time he saw Marin was. Did something happen? It's all my fault. As he seemingly admits his guilt, we learn why everyone thinks he was behind the heinous act. Back in the present, Iggy visits the diner to find the waitress, Veronica. She reveals that she's been making things up to the police in the hopes of becoming famous. Iggy storms off after noting that since his brother was there, he must know the truth.
I'm gonna be in Us magazine, smiling.
He stops by the bar that Terry is performing at and waits for him to finish. Meanwhile, Glenna is there and she mentions that her stomach hurts. Apparently, the horns made her forget the donut incident. She then offers to polish Iggy's wand. Bro, come on. Whatever. Iggy then gets Terry's attention and the pair chat outside. He mentions the waitress and Terry confirms that she's lying. Marin left the diner with me that night. Wait, what? You told me you didn't see Marin. A scuffle ensues and then we cut to a flashback. Terry is driving Marin home, but he's acting like a creepy uncle.
You're beautiful. You know that?
She gets out on the side of the road in the pouring rain and makes her way into the woods. The next thing he remembers is waking up with a bloodied rock in his car. He heads into the woods to investigate and finds what remains of Marin. Terry then tosses away the evidence before we return to the present. Tensions escalate and then the cops arrive. Eric apprehends Iggy and berates him. I wish I could just beat you to a pulp. His partner replies, stating that he'd like that, especially if they weren't wearing anything.
Yeah, I like that. I like to think about you naked too.
What? The next morning, Lee bails Iggy out, but he notices that Lee is wearing Marin's cross. Lee initially denies it, but then reveals that he was the other man.
What are you talking about?
An enraged Iggy leaves, then seeks the truth from Marin's dad, Dale. He holds Iggy at gunpoint and admonishes him for coming here to question Marin's loyalty. He remarks that he thought things couldn't get worse after his wife died of cancer, but he was wrong. Still believing Iggy to be an evildoer, he sends him on his way. Later, and at an abandoned warehouse, Iggy desperately tries to remove his horns. Meanwhile, the snake squad pulls up. What's up with my mans and snakes?
Story recapped here.
They seem to befriend him, and he decides to accept his horns and use them to set things straight. Iggy pays a visit to Veronica with his buddies. The sneaky snakes slither up the car and strike. Veronica's left disfigured as a triumphant Iggy looms over her. While Iggy heads to Terry's place next, the cops stop him. But he's got a spicy solution. Why don't you guys just go to town on each other?
Come here.
Alrighty then. Iggy enters and finds a distraught Terry helping himself to all kinds of herbs and spices. Iggy berates him for only looking out for himself. You could have called an ambulance or told the cops the truth, he says. Even if I said anything, the cops wouldn't believe me. I'm your brother, Terry counters. Nonetheless, Iggy exacts his punishment. He compels Terry to eat all his herbs, spices, and candies. Y'all ever had Smarties? Them shits hit different. Terry begins to hallucinate as a distorted Iggy laughs at him.
You can't handle my strongest potions.
The trip starts off pleasant, but then things get serious. Terry sees visions of Marin before being consumed by the ground. The next morning, Iggy reflects on what just happened when Lee pulls up. He questions him further about his relationship with Marin. How long was it going on for? A couple of months, okay? Things escalate and Iggy snatches Marin's cross. And just like that, Lee can now see Iggy's horns. Finally, time for some answers. Iggy holds him at fork point and Lee reveals the truth.
I never meant to kill her.
A shocked Iggy takes him down. How could you do this? You saved my life as a kid.
Stupidest mistake I ever made.
Oh man.
I'm the one who fixed her cross. She should have been with me.
Dude, that was like 50 years ago. Get over it. Iggy goes in for the kill shot, but misses. He then grabs onto Lee and relives the memory of Marin's passing. We see Lee tailing Terry after he left the diner with Marin. He finds Terry passed out in the car, then goes after her. She's initially spooked, but ultimately happy to be comforted by her friend. They embrace, then Lee goes in for a kiss. Marin immediately recoils in disgust. No one's here, we don't have to hide anymore, he says. She doesn't understand, so he continues. Every time we hang out, there's such tension in the room. I know we were meant to be, and that's why you broke up with Iggy. But that ain't it.
I love him more than the world.
Iggy is taken aback by his emotions, and Lee promptly capitalizes. He continues the story, explaining that he took advantage of Marin before bashing her head in. He then went on to plant the evidence in Terry's car. All the meanwhile, Lee beats Iggy down with a chain. He seeks to tie up the final loose end by setting Iggy ablaze in his car. Iggy can do nothing more but drive into the river. In the aftermath, we see a hospitalized Terry and his parents crying over Iggy's death. Though his body was never found, he's presumed dead, and Lee tells everyone he confessed. Like a phoenix, Iggy emerges from the water. Wait, is that the quote? He visits Dale, who's had a change of heart. He can feel that Iggy is innocent and knows who the real monster is. He demands a name, but Iggy declines, stating that this is his job. Dale takes him up to Marin's room, where he gives Iggy a key she left for him. Iggy then attempts to return Marin's cross, but Dale says, I think you need it more than me. After putting it on, Iggy transforms back to normal. He heads back to the treehouse and using the key, unlocks the hidden compartment. He finds a letter that Marin left for him. Well, I'll be damned. It was Morse code after all. In the letter, Marin reveals that like her mother, she became stricken with cancer. It wouldn't be long before she left this world, and she didn't want to hold Iggy back. Marin knew he was going to propose soon, and believed that telling him the truth would just make him want to marry her more. As a result, she pretended to fall out of love with him. The letter ends with her promising that they'll meet again someday.
I'll be waiting by candlelight in our treehouse.
Honestly, I cried watching this, and it's not even the first time. Iggy stops by the hospital and tells Terry the truth before heading off to confront Lee. The pair head into the woods, with Lee having forgotten their earlier encounter. Iggy tells him he knows, and of course, Lee denies it. Suddenly, Eric emerges from the woods. Terry's there too. He told them everything. Eric takes control of the situation and apprehends Lee. He pretends to go along with everything, then strikes. Lee grabs a hold of the shotgun and uses it against a charging Terry. Iggy retaliates, but this only leads to Eric's downfall. With no other option, he's forced to activate demon mode. He rips off Marin's cross and a magnificent pair of angel wings sprout from his back. They lift him up into the air before spontaneously combusting. He's engulfed in flames, then emerges extra crispy with a side of spiky. As he plods forward, Lee fires upon him. Eventually, the gun jams and he pleads for mercy. Once again, he's faking. Having been critically wounded, Iggy collapses. However, he manages to collect the last of his strength for a final play. While Lee succumbs to the fatal blow, a snake emerges. It slithers up his body before sliding inside. Iggy collapses by the treehouse and Terry tends to him as the light fades from his eyes. The film ends with Iggy and Marin back where they belong, together, in like heaven, I guess.